As mentioned, my name is Hale. I am delighted to be here with you tonight. As mentioned, I'm CEO of Granite. I'm principal in Fox Rock, which has a booth here somewhere. I'm principal in the Copley, which probably has a booth here somewhere. I'm the owner of the Cannons, which has a booth here. The only thing I didn't bring is probably the one you wish I brought, which is some of the Boston Celtics, right? Did you guys invite me to be the keynote because I sponsored everything? Is that what it is? Truth is, I'm a very lucky guy. But you're really lucky too. Tonight you are. You know what? You're about to get career advice from a guy who simultaneously lost his entire company and $1.5 billion at the same time. It was meant to be sort of funny. Yeah. It's not that much of a horror story. I survived. So you should be asking yourself, I think, two important questions. One, is the bar still open? And two, why didn't they just get the governor to come back again? So I am flattered and I'm honored to chat with you tonight. When Maureen called me, I asked her, what would you like me to chat about? And she thought, tell a little bit of my personal story. And I will tell a little bit of my personal story as it pertains to business. Because I think we're in a room full of business operators, owners, managers, folks who care a great deal about business. And I have been part of two small companies that became big companies. I have been part of a company that failed. So through my trials and tribulations, I have learned some salient, valuable lessons. And I'd be delighted to try to share them with you. So tonight we will discuss briefly my career, my personal career. More importantly, we'll focus on some of the lessons that came out of those triumphs and defeats. We'll talk briefly, as the mayor mentioned, about philanthropy. I know it's important to you. It's important to us. And I think we should do everything we can to share it. And lastly, we'll talk briefly about some of the endeavors with Fox Rock in downtown Quincy. Okay? So, to begin with, my personal career began in the Prudential Center. Straight out of school, I went to work for MCI, which is a long-distance company. I loved it. I was in sales. Essentially, they gave us a cube and a headset and a phone book and said, knock yourself out. And honestly, I took to it like a fish takes to water. I loved it. In a matter of a couple of months, I was the #1 sales guy in the country, and I was happy. I wanted to do that for my career. I was very, very fortunate. I was raised in an entrepreneurial family. My father was the original importer of flour, actually, to the United States. And so my customers started to say to me, would you like, what is this aggregation? And I said, I don't know what that is. But as I looked into it, it was really just bulk buying of AT&T services. And I said to my dad, we can do this. And so he put up several $100,000, and I did the work. And we started a company called Network Plus. And if you go right out of the parking lot here and take your first left, that was our first home at 300 Crown Colony. So our roots are Quincy. I lived in South. Like everybody else, I had the choice of where we were going to establish our headquarters. And we were drawn to Quincy in 1990 for the same reasons that we are drawn to Quincy today. There is an educated, intense, diverse community here. The T brings that city closer to us. This is a place that can foster and grow companies. And so in 1990, when we had a plethora of choices, we chose here for the same reasons that I think we're going to choose to do more and more work in the next decade. So as I mentioned, we sublet space at 300 Crown Colony from, Dan, do you remember Kenny and Lehan? So Joe and Terry, two of the nicest guys in the world. We sublet a bit of space from them. We grew, took more. Eventually, we grew out of the space that was available in Crown Colony. Then we expanded and bought space on Copeland Street. Copeland Street helped shape my body in many different ways. Have you been to Copeland Street Pizza or Donut King? Two of the, not quite as good as Ginger Betty's, but at least very close to Copeland Street. So in any event, in the serious note, we had a lot of fun in Copeland Street. We did a lot of good. 1990, we lost money. From 91 to 98, we made money. We grew to be about a $150 million business. We had a net annually between 9 to 11 to 12 to 13%. We had a great business. I didn't realize how great it was. So Goldman Sachs cold called me and said, hey, we'd like to do a bond offering. And I said, I don't even know what a bond offering is. I'm a phone guy. I'm not a finance guy. And they said, well, Rob, if you do a bond offering, simultaneously you can do an IPO, and you will be a billionaire. And I said, yes, as a matter of fact, I'm not a finance guy, but I have a keen interest in that now. And so what they said would happen did happen. These were the halcyon times for telecoms. We were the sexiest thing in all of Wall Street. All of telecom. So we were supposed to open at 16. We opened at 26. Stock over the next 5, 6, 7 months got up to 63 or something like that. I owned 27 million shares. So I had $1.4 billion next to my name. According to Forbes, I was the 7th wealthiest guy in the world under 40. So stock went like this. Then this bubble burst. And stock went like this. So over the next 18 months, bad things happened. And our stock just drifted and drifted, but it always drifted downwards. So our bank was Goldman. And Goldman and Fleet and CSFB, which were our banks at the time, said, you have a credit line with us. We don't bank CLEX anymore. We're not going to renew your credit line. Bad luck. And so we had never missed any covenants. We'd never done anything said we weren't going to do. We were forced into bankruptcy. The telco business is very similar to the bridge building business. If you have half a bridge, it's not very useful unless you have a destination other half. And so if you've been given enough money to build half and you don't have the other half, there's a very technical term, a very finance-oriented term called SOL. You're SOL. I can't say that at the 5th grade leadership summit, can I, Mr. Mayor? You know what I mean. That's what happened to me. So February 4th of 2002, we were forced into bankruptcy. March 15th of 2002, we were sold at auction. June 3rd of 2002, we started Granite. And we would have started Granite quicker if we could have gotten regulatory approval more rapidly. So there were an awful lot of bad things happening in my life at that time. But there was no doubt in my mind that we could succeed, that we would flourish. And so immediately we built another business. And when Granite got a little too big for when Network Plus got a little too big for its britches, we had bought a building in Randolph. And so maybe bad karma from Randolph, who knows. But when we chose to start Granite, we moved back to Quincy. And the name Granite does symbolize our allegiance to Quincy. It's bedrock, it's solid. It represents this town where good things have happened to us. So all telcos then and now, they generally go with names that denote speed and kind of sexiness, like Lightship and Lightyear and all, like stuff like that. We didn't want that. We wanted stability. We wanted something that suggested sturdiness. We wanted what Quincy represented. So our name reflects our commitment to this community. So at the beginning, Granite got very, very lucky. We did what most telcos do at the beginning. You sign a wholesale deal with Verizon, and then you build scale and you deploy switches to increase your margins. So we signed a deal with Verizon to wholesale their telephone lines. Walmart and Walgreens said, hey, let's consolidate and discount as a beta test the telephone lines at our stores in Boston through your wholesale deal with Verizon. Shortly thereafter, they said, let's consolidate and discount these telephone lines for all of New England. Shortly thereafter, they said, let's consolidate all of the telephone lines through your Verizon wholesale deal for all of the Verizon footprint. Almost to the same day, they brought us out to Bentonville and Chicago and said, this wholesaling, this discounting, it is good for us. And we'll do this for the rest of the country. We might do it with you, we might not. But we're going to do this for the rest of the country. So by the time the wheels touch home, you've got to make a decision. Are you going to do what I thought we were going to do, which is build a physical, regional phone company? Or are we going to do what they thought we should do, which is become a national wholesaler? And so in the last 15 years, we've created 1,800 jobs, American jobs. 1,400 of them are in North Quincy. We've built a $1.25 billion business. We get lots of accolades for entrepreneur and things, the Entrepreneur of the Year awards, things like that. And people always say, how did you get that great idea? We didn't. We listened to them. So lesson number one that I would share with you is listen to your customers. They will tell you what's important, and they will drive you to growth. I'm quite certain if we had not listened to that advice at that time, I would not be here presenting to you. Our successes are largely attributable to that very idea. Second anecdotal evidence of that bit of advice. Listen to your customers. Same company, 07, 08, Walmart called us and said, hey, we have good news. We said, what's that? They said, we have given Humana, the benefits company Humana, we've given them the ability to install kiosks in every one of our stores that if you walk into a Walmart, you can pick it up and auto-dial back to a call center and they can sell you benefits. And and Humana was our customer at the time. We said, oh, that's delightful, and we want you to install the phone line. He said, that's even better, great. He said, and by the way, we want you to cable them all. And we said, we don't do that. And they said, I don't think you heard me. He said, got it. Yes, sir. So over the next 4 months, we literally cold called 4,100 electricians and said, will you install these things in Walmart for us, please? At the end of 4 months, we reflected back and said, hey, the project went smoothly. It was a lot of work, but we made it work. And we said to ourselves, gee, if this idea of centralized text is good for Walmart, then it's probably, which is the biggest company in the world, probably be pretty useful to other companies, wouldn't you think? And so that tech business, cabling business, is now a $100 million business for us. It nets 10 or 11%. It's created 100 American jobs. And it gives us a distinct advantage that other telcos don't have, because we can do work they can't. So listen to your customers. They'll tell you how to grow your business. Second lesson that I would share with you. Choose your teammates and your partners wisely. So, first evidence of these choices. As I mentioned, 2001 was a hard time for all of us, for me, and all of us in the telco business. There were 43 public telcos in the competitive world in 1999. Within the next 3 years, 41 of the 43 had been through restructuring, which generally means bankruptcy. So there were bombs blowing up all around us, and I could feel the heat from that. I knew that some of that was close to us. And there was a high probability that some of that might land on us. Quest, which was a telco, which is the phone company in the West. It's one of the RBOCs. It's like Verizon out there. We've done many deals with them. And they called me and said, hey, let's do a fiber swap. And I won't bore you with telco finance, but essentially a fiber swap is taking CapEx and bringing it into OpEx. Essentially taking long-term investment, making it look like short-term earnings. And if you were running a telco and you wanted your numbers to look better, which I happen to be one of those people, I said, yeah, that's a great idea. I'd love to do that. Thank you. So I brought it to our CFO, an old salt named Bob Cabusi, to whom I'm indebted for the rest of my life. And I said, let's do this. And he said, well, I don't think so. I said, why? He said, well, because I don't think it's kosher. But I'll ask PricewaterhouseCoopers. A day later, PricewaterhouseCoopers came back to us and said, I don't think you should do this. And as I listened to the reasons, I said, okay. So I called back the guy at Quest, and the vice president of Quest disdainfully said to me, Rob, we're $40 billion RBOC. You're an itty-bitty competitor. Arthur Andersen, our auditors, and PricewaterhouseCoopers are both big six. What's the difference between them? I thought, I don't know, not much. So, then why can we do this and you can't? I said, good point. And I went back to Bob and I said, Bob, Arthur Andersen and Quest can do this. Why shouldn't we do this? And he said, again, I don't think it's right, but I'll ask PricewaterhouseCoopers one more time. Immediately he came back, don't do it. So we declined the opportunity. We failed. I don't know if we would have succeeded whether we did that deal or not. In fact, I think it would have just prolonged the inevitable. But as Sophocles said, rather fail with honor than succeed through fraud. So we kept our integrity, and we were able to rebuild the business. CEO of Quest today, in jail. Arthur Andersen. Any of you use Arthur Andersen for your auditing now? You know why? They collapsed under the scandal of these initiatives. Choose your partners wisely. Second example of this. Same setting. Goldman Sachs, as I mentioned, was our bank. Goldman Sachs, I hope no one here works at Goldman. Actually, they deserve it if they do. Goldman was our bank. As I mentioned, we did an IPO with them, we did a PIK preferred with them, we did a secondary equity offering, we did a bond, we did a bank line with them. We did a variety of things that generated an awful lot of fees for an investment bank. My relationship manager, or managing director, which is Wall Street vernacular for boss, went from 99 to 2000, I would guesstimate that he called me 300 times. I'm not joking at all. He called me even on weekends until I told him, stop calling me on weekends. I don't want to talk to you on weekends. Again, let's say we averaged a call a day for the course of a year and a half. As our industry collapsed, we moved out of investment banking into a group at Goldman called Workout. I hope most of you don't know what Workout means, because I hope you haven't ever had to face it. It's the guys who fix your problems. We didn't have any problems. They, Wall Street, thought we had problems. So we went to Workout, which is where they help you fire people. That's really what they do. So we were in Workout, and we went to Workout from about March of 2001. Now, this guy who had called me literally an average of every day, from March of 2001, when do you think was the next time I heard from him? It's seared in my memory. I'll never forget it because, as I mentioned to you, on February 4th of 2002, we went into bankruptcy. On February 3rd of 2002, he called me for the first time in about a year. And he said to me, and I'm not joking, rather cavalierly, and said, I heard you're going bankrupt tomorrow. And I was like, yeah, I am. And you guys know how important that is to you. Same to me. So to say it flightily like that killed me. Secondly, the fact I hadn't heard from him for about a year was worse. Third was he said, well, let me call and see what I can do. Okay. What do you think the next time was I heard from him? So 07, 08, he's left Goldman. And now he runs investment banking at another august investment banking institution in New York. And he calls me. And he has all these clever ideas about how we can raise capital. And I listened politely for a moment or two, and then I said to him, you may have a short-term memory. I do not. There might have been a couple of other things I couldn't have said in fifth grade leadership counseling. Choose your partners wisely. Lastly, my teammates. Now, as I mentioned, we failed at Network Plus. And I was the CEO. So when that ship hit the rocks, it was my fault. And those guys lived through that with me. All of them. It was painful. So I personally had death threats. I had lawsuits. Yes, we lost a lot of money. I had to let go of 400 people on a conference call. When we opened Granite, there were 17 of us originally. Every single one of the 17 came from Network Plus. Every one of the original 70 came from Network Plus. Now, without debt, without acquisition, without outside investment, that team has built a $1.25 billion business. Choose your teammates wisely. They'll stick by you in tough times. So, philanthropy. Philanthropy is very important to us at Granite, and as the mayor said, in this town. And we take philanthropy very seriously. We are very fortunate, as Maya Angelou said, to whom much is given, much is expected. We put $15.5 million into this community last year. Boston Magazine, just this recent issue, said we were the third most benevolent organization in Massachusetts. But I don't want to talk about big ticket items. I want to talk about two relatively simple items that I think we can all act on. We have a tradition at Granite, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, suit and tie. Thursday, optional casual day, like kind of slacks, golf shirt. Fridays is jeans day. On Fridays, if you like to wear jeans, we ask you to chip in $3. $3 is the cost of dry cleaning, isn't it? Right. There we go. At dependable, $3. Yeah. You put that in writing for all of us? Yeah. Got it. They're going to hook us, I promise you. So, cost of dry cleaning in my book. We match. We have 7 teammates. They take suggestions from our 1,800 teammates about an organization that we're going to support. They vet it, they get comfortable, they make sure it's on the up and up. As long as it's 501c3 certified, as long as they've got letterhead, if that team chooses them, that Friday, we put together the schedule. On one of the Fridays, they will get the proceeds. So every Friday, we put $5,000 or $6,000 because we match, and our teammates chip in $3. We add it all up. It's about $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 that goes to work in an organization in our community. Now we're pretty big in terms of people, but I think honestly any of your companies could do that, and I don't think it would be that hard. Pretty easy stuff. Second tidbit that I would suggest to you is a program that we've worked on with Father Bills over the last decade. Father Bills is in communication with people in our community who are struggling. In the holiday season, they bring trees to our offices. Those trees are tailored to individual families. So they'll put they put a tag on the tree, customized by the family that needs the help. So it'll say, Billy 7, bike, Sue 9, soccer ball, James 11, video games. And we put them in within our teammates, and in fact some of our tenants now do the same thing. And their teammates or our teammates take that, they buy that gift, they gift wrap it, they put the tag back on it. If they put an ornament on and we try to decorate the trees, Granite matches for every ornament, we give $1. For every gift, we give $1. So what that family ends up getting is exactly what the kids wanted, a beautiful Christmas tree, and a couple of $100 to defray other costs. And Father Bills knows, and you know, people in this community sometimes are having a hard time. And I guarantee that makes it a better day when they walk in and that tree is in that lobby, in that living room. And again, I think every one of your companies could do it. You don't have to do 22, but if you do one, I bet it would help. Finally, our flagship event, which the mayor spoke about, is Saving by Shaving. And it's been in the news a bit. The governor has come the last couple of years. In fact, in early April, I think he's going to join us again. What began as a mirthful comment in a Monday meeting, a challenge ended up being a $5,000 gift per shaved head, so that we would, and then all proceeds would go to pancreatic cancer research at Dana-Farber. So, first year, we had about 500 of us. 2 years ago, we had about 700 of us. Last year, we had 870. In aggregate, we put $12 million to work at Dana-Farber for pancreatic cancer research. So, if you look at the mayor's fine locks, and the mayor's very generous with his hair. He's been there the last 2 years, and I suspect will join us for a third. His hair is so handsome. Don't you think I should chip in a little extra? Well, I'm going to put it on you. We're going to do this in April, and we'll challenge Quincy Chamber of Commerce principals in leadership, principals of your companies. If you want to come over and we shave your heads, or if you're a young lady and you'll cut off 11 inches of healthy hair that we can give to Locks for Love, we'll give $5,000 in your honor to Dana-Farber. A lot less eye contact right now, huh? Yeah, I really liked his speech until he said that. Yeah. So, we'll get the date. I'm serious about this, of course, and we'll get you the date. And I'm telling you, in our lifetime, Dana and others are going to beat pancreatic cancer, and I'd love you to feel pride about helping to do that. There's a couple you work at the Y, right? I'm giving like $700 tops for you. Yeah, $1,200 for goatee. That's it. Okay. Final thoughts. Fox Rock is our real estate development business. Just a couple facts about Fox Rock. We're about 8 years old. Over the last 8 years, we have bought or developed about 32 buildings, about 2.5 million square feet. With the exception of 3 buildings, they're all on the South Shore. They're all generally within 10 or 15 miles of here. Over the course of 8 years, we have sold 1 of those buildings. It was in Randolph. Maybe that bad karma thing was bothered me. In fact, it was one of our earlier acquisitions. It was a little distant from the other things that we did, a little smaller than some of the other things we did, so it didn't really fit what we were trying to do. What I'm telling you is that 31 of 32 buildings we have bought and we've held them. We're not a buy and flip. We're a buy and hold. And the things that we do are within 10 miles of this building. So we're part of this community, and we intend to be part of this community. We intend to build buildings that you want to be in and that you're proud of, because you're part of our family. So we focus on wellness. We have built a wellness campus in Plymouth of 3 buildings. We've built a 250,000 square foot wellness campus, which is being further developed as we speak, in Weymouth. And our flagship is a 550,000 square foot campus in Norwell, which I think is one of the nicer developments in the entire South Shore. As many of you know, we just bought Quincy Hospital. My opinion is Quincy Hospital right now is not something that Quincy can be proud of. And my guess is 50 years ago, it was a big part of that community, of our community. We're going to restore its luster. That's what we're here to do. We intend to keep it medical. We intend to supplement, we intend honestly to replace the existing facility, medical facility. We intend to upgrade it. We intend to add more medical, and that's a beautiful building, and it's a beautiful part of Quincy if it's well cared for and properly populated. We intend to do both. We've been given the development rights to the Ross Garage area of Quincy, and I believe, as most of you do, that Quincy was an important, beautiful city, hit a little bit of a trough, and is on its way back. We intend to help build and restore the grandeur that Quincy had. And we intend to do it relatively quickly. Our goal is to build about 1 million square feet of Class A office and medical space in downtown Quincy. And our goal is for us, because as I mentioned, we intend to own these buildings. We don't intend to buy them and sell them. We intend to own them. For us and you to be proud of what we build together. Because there's a lot of us that are going to have to do this in the next 5, 6, 7 years. So why would we want to do this in Quincy? This is the biggest investment we've ever made. Why would we want to do it in Quincy? I think the same messages resonate today that resonated in 1990. There's a vibrance, there's a tenacity, there's a blue-collar yet educated community here. There are lots of great employees waiting for great jobs. That's the truth. And there's a T that brings us closer to the most educated city in the world that's getting overpopulated and pushing south. And the T is going to be expanded the next couple of years to make that commute even easier. So we believe, for a whole host of reasons, this city is going to grow. Not the least of which, and I say this sincerely, I believe we have a leader who wants to put resources and talent and energy to restoring Quincy to the grandeur that it had and should have. And I believe that sincerely. We want to be long-term partners with Quincy. In 5, 6, 7 years, we want you and us to be proud of what we built. Thank you.